What's up, guys? My name is Anthony.
My name's Thomas.
This is OrtizTalks. On this channel, we're going to be doing movie reviews slash discussions, more like a podcast, so more so reviews. We'll also do occasional videos for physical media. But yeah, other than that, today we're going to be talking about the Batman. So we have these cool posters here, my little Funko Pop. But I guess, start it off. What did you think? What did you think about the movie?
Okay. Let's start by setting the stage here. It's very important to remember where the Batman is coming from in this current era, right? People forget how important the Batman is. There were many people I saw come out of the movie and tell me, man, I forgot that Batman movies could be so dark and so interesting. Mm-hmm. And I was like, you did forget. And the reason people forget is because the last time we saw Batman, in a live-action feature at least, was in Batman vs. Superman and in Justice League. And, both of those movies didn't perform so well.
I liked them.
And people have a tendency, they look back at a movie, and if the movie's bad, the movie's bad. That's how they remember it. Uh-huh. And, those movies left a bad taste in people's mouths regarding the character of Batman and making them forget that a Batman movie with a new actor and a new director and a new cast of people to work on it means something. It is a very important role in Hollywood. Batman is a character in the same vein as Godzilla, in the same vein as even probably Spider-Man. A character who could be reimagined multiple times and still work and never get stale. And it's such a unique thing for a character to be able to be like that. And people forget. And I am glad that director Matt Reeves stuck to his guns, stuck to his vision.
Dude, he killed it, dude.
And brought to us a reminder of what makes a Batman movie so special, especially in the modern era. So, immediately off the bat, I gotta say the opening 10 minutes are so perfect.
Phenomenal.
They're so perfect.
I did not know that Matt Reeves could do this. Like, I knew he was a good director, but watching this, I was like, damn, this is some good ass directing the whole time. Because he doesn't have that many films. Yeah. He has like 2 or 3 good ones.
He has a small catalog.
Small, so
his best ones are more recent.
Mm-hmm. I was confident going into it because I like what he's done from his past.
I knew him from the Dawn and War for the Planet of the Apes movies. Those were the first time I heard his name, and I was like, oh, Matt Reeves. He's pretty good. He's got a good sense of how to use special effects and make him look real good, and how to structure a story and things like that. And I remember, the reason I bring up it's important to think about where the character is coming from is because after Batman vs. Superman, what was initially supposed to happen was Ben Affleck was set to write, direct, and star in his own Batman movie.
I would have watched that.
I would have watched that. I'm still 1,000%. Sad we didn't get to see that. But
we got something close to it.
At the end of the day, we got something great out of it. But what's important about that is that Matt Reeves, when it was announced that Ben Affleck was no longer the director for the project, I was disappointed. Yeah. I was like,
he could have done a good job.
Because at that point, I kind of knew it. I kind of felt that the news was inevitable that he was no longer going to be Batman.
Little by little, they were cutting him off. He's no longer doing this, he's no longer doing that.
Little by little, he was being pushed out of the project. And the second they announced Matt Reeves was the director, I felt bad. And I was like, oh. And I said to myself, so Matt Reeves better make a good-ass movie.
No, yeah, man. I thought he did great. His cinematography was great. His camera movement was great. His script is great. Yes. I wouldn't choose any other director right now to have made that movie. He really made like his mark. Yes. I feel like watching it, it was his first time. I felt like he really had a really good style for himself. I haven't seen The Planet of the Apes in a while, but watching this one, I feel like I was watching a Matt Reeves film. Funny enough, because it's easy when you watch like Nolan's films or Tarantino's films. Matt Reeves could very much do a bunch of movies like this, which is good because these are great. But yeah, what'd you think of? I'd say from that, Robert Pattinson as Batman.
Yes. So back to the opening 10 minutes, it establishes a lot in those first 10 minutes. It establishes tone. It establishes theme. It establishes the visual look of the movie. It establishes the type of Batman. that Robert Pattinson's Batman is intending to be. Great use of what's it called when they put the voiceover. Great use of voiceover.
Oh, dude, I love that he starts his voice. He just tells you everything
and
at the beginning.
It's kind of corny in a lot of movies when they start with that. I'm like, okay, the movie starts, the character, first thing you hear is the character's dialogue. Okay, whatever. But Robert Pattinson, his dialogue at the beginning of the movie is instrumental in understanding who his character is throughout the story. And for those first lines you hear from him they're inconsequential. I'm sorry, not inconsequential. They're what's the word I'm looking for? They're
like important?
Yeah, there's like another word.
Vital.
Indispensable.
Oh, okay. I can think of that.
Yes, those first words are entirely indispensable to learning who Robert Pattinson's character is at this time, who Bruce Wayne is at this time, and knowing what Batman means to him and to the criminals of Gotham at that time. That is incredibly important because that is one of the ways that Matt Reeves builds the world of Gotham, the city of Gotham. He makes Gotham a character in many ways. That,
this is the first time we've ever gotten like an actual Gotham. I feel like all the other Gothams were just...
Well, it's the first time since like the original quadrilogy. Those movies had a very defined Gotham City. Yeah. The Dark Knight trilogy was, in its super realistic take, Gotham City felt like New York City. Yeah, it was missing that essence.
I love this Gotham, dude. I liked that it was always raining. It was always dark. We really only see it at nighttime, which is cool too because that's where Batman strives the whole time.
You see it a couple times during the day.
Yeah, you see it a couple times during the day.
Nothing major.
It's cool because it's like it's dirty. They don't have any lights, which is funny. But it works out because their government sucks and it's cheap. But yeah, I think Robert Pattinson, for me, right now, is my favorite Batman, tied with Ben Affleck. And I say this because I think his Batman is just Ben Affleck's Batman in the future, or in the past. I think this Batman will become Ben Affleck's Batman, which is why I really like it, because I love Ben Affleck's Batman. But yeah, I already knew Robert Pattinson was a great actor. We've seen all his other movies. A lot of people, because that was like the main complaint, a lot of people were like, Robert Pattinson, the guy from Twilight? Ugh. But I mean... We know him. If you're a real movie person, you know him more from just that. You know him more from just Twilight.
If Robert Pattinson being casted,
swayed you in some direction,
made you, off put you, then you're just kind of uninitiated in his career because he's done a lot of smaller movies. He did a few for A24. I liked him in the Netflix film. What was it? The King. I believe it was called The King.
Yeah, he's in The King. He's in that other one too with Tom Holland where he's like the priest. Did you ever watch that?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that one too. He's in my favorite film, The Lighthouse.
Yes, he was in The Lighthouse.
He fucking kills it in that one.
And he's great. He's a great actor, and this is one of the reasons why the role of Batman is so important because the character is kind of inherently super interesting. Mm-hmm. And it's the type of character you could do so much with if you have the right director, if you have the right actor, if you have the right writers, if you have the good supporting cast, if you have the correct set designers,
and the good actor,
people who do the lighting, and it all. This is one of those movies where everyone involved seemed to be on the same page. Because Robert Pattinson, as good as he is, everybody else is just as good. They all stick out.
Everyone kills it.
Just as much.
Even the police officer with the mustache, I forget his name. Ramirez.
Yes.
Even he was perfectly casted.
Ramirez was fun.
As soon as he comes on, I'm like, I like this guy. I feel like he has a certain, character to his character. But yeah, everyone they picked, even the smallest people, were very important. They all knew exactly what they were there for. They all knew exactly what they were doing. And it shows, man. Everyone's chemistry is off the charts, good. I feel like it's been a while since I've seen a movie where all the actors are like perfectly in sync. Mm-hmm. Right? So... yeah, I loved Ramirez. My most favorite was Commissioner.
Yeah.
I don't know the actor's name. Do you know the actor's name?
I'm afraid I don't know.
I have no idea what his name is, but he was great, dude. Him and Robert Pattinson together were great. I love them. I could watch a whole movie just about them two because their chemistry is honestly, I thought, better than his and Catwoman's.
Yes.
Because they do
their buddy cop.
Yeah, their buddy
relationship was one of the.
It's exciting.
It's
because all the other cops, it starts off, all the other cops, no one really likes him. They're all kind of questioning him. And that's like a major thing in the movie too is, the cops kind of have to grow to trust him. More so than the cops. But that's why I like Ramirez's character. He's kind of the representative for the cops.
That was something I liked about Ramirez. It's one of those movies where every little thing is in service of the greater story. And so Ramirez, one of the greatest things I liked about the movie is such a small detail. When the Batman is first walking into the crime scene, spoiler alert, by the way.
Yeah, there's spoiler. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure
Batman's walking into the first crime scene, and the mayor's dead on the floor. And before he could enter in, Ramirez stops him. He puts his hands on him. He goes, "Whoa, what are you doing, man? I can't let you in there. What do you think you're doing?" And Jim Gordon goes, hey, he's with me, man. It's cool. Just let him in. And Ramirez kind of gives him a dirty look, and the Batman's kind of looking at him. And then he walks through.
But little by little, throughout the movie, he kind of lets him get away with things. Like, he lets Batman get away with things.
Yeah, by the end of the movie, he's still kind of reluctant to let Batman go in.
He thinks about it for a second.
Screw around with the Riddler's
he thinks
room,
about it for a second.
but he goes and he lets him do his work. But
just starts talking to him.
One of the things that I liked, he hates the Batman, but when he sees Bruce Wayne...
He's like a little fanboy.
He's like, hey Bruce Wayne, what's up, man?
I love that.
I thought that was great. Little things like that really, really bring... It makes Gotham have character. Just the little things like that.
Funny enough, it makes Gotham feel small, but like in a good way. Because I feel like everyone kind of knows each other to, at least of the higher ups to that extent.
And that kind of...
That's important. That's important for the cops and the government and Batman to all have a relationship.
I was going to say, it kind of resonates through the design of the new Gotham that they've built. Because the key word that I looked for when I was thinking about this Batman was homemade. All the design around it, and this isn't just literal for the character or for the Batmobile, but it's just Gotham in general. It feels very homemade. It feels like Gotham is a close-knit community, even though it's such this big place. It seems like everybody knows everybody. Everyone knows who's where.
You know why I think it feels like that? Is because we only get a certain amount of spots in the movie, like, that they constantly show us to.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, they go to the club constantly. We're just in the Batcave, and then we're at that tower where the light is. Majority of the movie is just those 3 locations. Everywhere else throughout Gotham, they're kind of just going through, because it's all the same.
But everybody knows those locations.
Yeah, but everyone knows those locations. Yeah, those are vital, especially the club. Funny enough, the club is like, I don't know, it's exclusive, but I feel like everyone knows about it.
Well, there's the club, and then there's the club within the club.
Yeah,
which is... Did we ever see the club within the club? For some reason,
they don't.
I'm not remembering.
Yeah, that's where Catwoman goes to interrogate.
That's where Falcone was.
Yes, that's where Falcone was. Yeah, they don't really show like the entrance or anything around it, but you know that she's in the most exclusive club.
That's right.
Speaking of which, we need to talk about Batman's gadgets, because his little eye thing is genius. I was saying that the lenses, the contact lenses. I was saying that a few years ago. I had actually thought about that, like, oh, what if someone had contact lenses where they could record everything and play it back? And then it shows up in the Batman. I'm like, I knew about, like, I thought about this before. Like, this is genius. This is smart. But Batman has, like, a lot of cool gadgets in this movie.
Yes, he does. Less than I would have liked, personally.
Yeah, I would say, not a whole lot. They were simple, but they were effective.
Yes.
Everything he used was a simple gadget, but very effective.
Yes.
Because there's the contact lenses, obviously the Batarang. He uses a thing on his symbol on his chest as a knife. He has the one where he runs down the thing.
He has the retractable,
zip line kind of
grappling hook.
Yeah.
And then he had the flare that he can pull out of his suit at the end. And then
and then they had that little thing at the end, which was kind of a thing, but
what little thing at the end?
His little green juice.
That was weird.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
He has adrenaline in his suit, apparently.
But the point is, his suit's like, it's stacked, and he has a lot of things that he could use, and it's just cool. It's cool to see him, because there's that one scene with Catwoman where she goes to the club and he has lenses on.
Yes.
And he has his computers and his high tech stuff, and it's just cool. It's cool to see, because like Ben Affleck's Batman didn't really have as many gadgets. I felt like I don't remember exactly. I feel like he had like a main 3. Which is fine, because most of his strength come from his Batman himself.
Yeah, a lot of his stuff was remote.
Mm-hmm.
So his gadgets were Alfred could take control of his jet.
That's right.
When he's not riding it, Alfred could use some kind of almost like a sonar to see how many people were in the building when he went to go save Martha. He had the little detonators when he came in from underneath to blow up the guy's guns.
Mm-hmm.
That was another thing.
Right. Oh, he also had the one where he was fighting the villains at the beginning. The shock thing. Wait, she doesn't use it again.
This Batman. Robert
Pattinson's Batman, where he shocks the
yes.
the goon. He doesn't use that much. He only uses it that one time. But Yeah, no, it's just cool to see him with all his gadgets.
Yes, there's a few things that make this Batman such a... It makes him stand out as a Batman, but continues to keep him in line with the other ones.
Yeah.
Having
just adding to him.
Gadgets and having him use those gadgets in combat is such a big, important thing to the character that... I don't know. There's certain things the Batman character can't be without. The gadgets is one of them.
Gadgets.
And another one is Alfred. Which is one of my favorite parts of the movie, personally.
Funny enough, when I saw the movie the first time, because I've seen it twice now. He saw it once, I saw it twice so far. We're going to watch it like 5 times each. But the first time, I didn't like Alfred too much. But I felt like it's because I was kind of going through the motion of... I didn't really analyze what they were saying and their how they're... what they were saying, how important it was to the characters until the second time. After watching it the second time, I was like, damn, Alfred really, he cares for this Bruce Wayne. And I didn't get that at first because there's subtle things. Whether it was him getting his cufflinks or the blueberries. He offers him a bunch of blueberries, helps him out with his unciphering the codes. So after watching it the second time, I really realized this Alfred is doing a lot. We're so spoiled by the Alfred from The Dark Knight, where he gives them a lot of emotional support,
a lot of love,
it gives him a lot of emotional support. But this Alfred, I feel also hasn't grown into that. He's not there yet because obviously Batman is only year 2. He's just starting to be Batman. So right now Alfred's just concerned because he
gives Bruce a lot of tough love.
Yeah, a lot of tough love.
That was what stuck out to me was the scene we meet Alfred, who's played by Andy Serkis. He walks in, and his first line is kind of passive-aggressive to Bruce. He's angry. He's angry. I don't remember exactly what he says, but...
I know what you're talking about.
He brings up that Bruce is spending all their money. They're not going to have any money soon.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And Bruce needs to go out
and keep to carry out your name, dude.
His name, his family image. Mm-hmm. And so he was angry at Bruce, and it was a real angry. He was disappointed in him.
Yeah, but that's what I was saying. I feel like right now he doesn't exactly trust him to be Batman yet.
Yes.
Right? He's scared for him because he's obviously going out every night risking his life, and it's still there's only
what it is.
It's there's only so much Alfred could do right now. So whenever he's there, he tries to keep him in place a little bit, keep him in check. But which is good. I think it's good.
Yeah, little detail about this Alfred I liked. Alfred brings up that he trained Bruce to fight. I think that's great.
That's right. I remember that.
It's well known at least in majority of
the Batman
comics that Alfred is a military man. He's a military man. He became a butler, and he ended up with the Waynes. And it's nice to finally see them do something with that. And he also is helping, like you brought up earlier, to decipher the Riddler code. And he's the one to solve it. Bruce doesn't solve it. Alfred solves the first one, which leads them to the car, which was great. Basically, every scene with Commissioner Gordon,
great.
I think were my favorite scenes of the movie.
Dude, I could watch him all day.
Their dynamic works so well.
Their funniest moment, their most connecting moment, is where they have the penguin.
Yes.
He makes fun of them that they're like a duo.
And Jim Gordon's interrogating them.
They're kind of going back and forth. It's just great, man. It's cool to see that Jim Gordon, because right off the bat, we already know that they already have a connection. He trusts him right away, which is good. We don't need to see Jim Gordon, gain that trust because it would kind of stall the story a little bit. I think it's good that they already initiated that.
I think it was more interesting that they used that angle with Alfred and Bruce as opposed to Jim and Bruce. And that also plays into the fact that, and this goes into Robert Pattinson's performance and the way they wrote the character, and what I think makes it so brilliant and makes it stand out, is that the reason Alfred has to learn Bruce to be Batman is because Alfred he already has no faith in Bruce.
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne.
That's a good point.
Bruce Wayne is when he's out in the daytime and he is out with people, we see it one time in the movie, and that's at the Mayor's Memorial. And he is small, and he's keeping to himself, and you mentioned he looks kind of like he's slouching a bit.
We had said that when he's Bruce Wayne, he's kind of like this.
He's smaller.
Even in the frame, he looks the same height as everybody. He looks smaller. I feel like Matt Reeves does that purposely to make Bruce Wayne look smaller. Person. Yeah. But then he's in the Bat costume.
And it is purposeful, because once he's in the Batman costume, suddenly he's this big, towering person.
Knock people over, it's great.
And the way he carries himself is very different. And it seems like when he is Bruce Wayne, he is just so emotionally disconnected from everybody. It's only when he's Batman, he feels like he's seen, like he's doing anything of consequence. And
that's important because for people who make the critique or for their reasons saying that they don't like this film is that there's not enough Bruce Wayne.
Yes.
That's bad. I think if you're saying there's not enough Bruce Wayne, you're just saying what other people are saying, or you didn't get the movie.
If you think there's not enough Bruce Wayne, you seem to have missed the point of what the redesign of this character is. There's
not supposed to be a Bruce Wayne right now. The dude's basically smashing Bruce Wayne down. Not purposely. He may not be doing it purposely, but he wants to be Batman.
Yes.
The whole time. He's comfortable as Batman. He feels good as Batman. He feels like he's doing something as Batman. And the Riddler even points it out to him when they're at the end talking in their little prison cell. The Riddler tells him, like, oh, you know, you have the mask on, and I know that's the real you. Mm-hmm. Like, I know that when you don't have your mask on, you're just someone else.
Yes.
Right? That's important because this whole movie, that's why Batman's in every scene. This whole movie, it's just Batman. That's great. I don't want to see Bruce Wayne sometimes, but I'd rather see the Batman. But it's cool that at least he has that growth. So like I know for a fact in the following movies we're gonna see more Bruce Wayne.
Yes.
Because that's his whole arc in this movie. He feels like the Batman's kind of taking over a little bit, and I feel like Alfred kind of knows that too, which is why he gives him that tough love. Mm-hmm. And you know, towards the end of the movie, Batman realizes like he can't just do that. He can't just be Batman.
Yes. You know? And that was why it was so important that they swapped.
That's
why it was so important that they swapped the character dynamics between Alfred and Jim. Because it's representative, even though Jim Gordon has only known Batman for 2 years. They're close.
Yeah, they're close.
Jim, they trust each other with their lives. And every scene that they're in, when Batman's in trouble, Jim Gordon is in there.
That's my favorite. At the drug location.
Yes,
where they're doing.
That was one of the most important parts I thought for their characters, and it said a lot.
Yeah, dude, Jim Gordon just goes right in there, man. The dude just drives up, starts taking fucking hella bullets to his car. I was like, dude, this guy's gonna die if like the location he's in was a bad spot.
And that it plays into how Bruce perceives himself. How Batman, he spends so much time as Batman. Like he has more friends as Batman than he does as Bruce Wayne.
Really, when he's Bruce Wayne, he has no one but Alfred.
And it seems like that's what Alfred is so angry with him about. He's like, you need to be out there and you need to live a life. Mm-hmm. You need to carry on your parents' name. You know, he's going to go out and he doesn't have the cufflinks. And Alfred's like, you better take these cufflinks.
That was one of my favorite scenes where, you know, because it starts off with Bruce kind of like mocking him.
Yes.
He's like, dude, you're not my father. You're not a Wayne. Like, get off my back, basically.
Yes.
That's what he was saying. But that moment where he tells him, you know, oh, your father gave this to me.
Yes.
You could tell he's like, oh. Like he feels
like
bad.
Instant regret.
Yeah, he goes, oh, you know, my father gave it to you then. He must have given it to you for a reason.
Yes, he's like, you may not be a Wayne, but my father trusted you and I should learn to trust you too. Uh-huh. And that was, I thought it was great.
These are all the things I caught the second time watching it. I should have caught the first time, but I feel like the scenes kind of go by quick.
Yes.
With Alfred.
For a 3-hour movie,
the scenes are easy to forget.
The pace is pretty quick.
Yeah.
It moves fast.
Yeah, for 3-hour movies, I did not feel like it was 3 hours. I was 2 hours into the movie, and Suhaila, my girlfriend, tells me the time, and I go, what? I go, no way. There's still all this to go? Yeah. I was so shocked.
It's not easy to forget the scenes, but it's easy to misremember their order.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of scenes that take place in the same spot.
Mm-hmm. You know, I remember the entire movie. Like, I didn't forget a single scene. It's so great. I've been thinking about it for the past week.
But, yeah, they did such a great work redesigning these characters. One of my favorite characters who was redesigned, we've seen him before on the screen before, but this one was by far my favorite iteration, was the Penguin.
The Penguin was great,
played into the plot because...
So good.
The mob angle in this movie was so excellent.
It works perfectly.
And the way it molds Bruce Wayne as a character, the way the Penguin and Falcone both
play him. They both play
him.
Play
him.
Yeah, they both
really changed him, and
it's funny because he takes their word a lot.
Yes,
I feel like he trusts what they say, which is kind of funny because they're mob people, so they're clearly not going to be trustworthy. But that's what adds to it.
Well, it's funny because the movie is kind of clever about it because they they establish when the first time you meet the Penguin, Bruce goes into the club as Batman. He's beating up his goons, and the Penguin stops him in the lobby, and then they go and have their chat. And the movie establishes that you can't trust the Penguin.
Yeah, you can't trust him.
He doesn't care what you want. He's gonna yank your chain, and he's gonna pretend like he doesn't know anything.
Yeah.
And then use the information you just gave him about what you know to his advantage.
That's true. That's a good point.
And they establish him in the first scene as a snake. Bruce Wayne is asking him about the mayor. He goes, I need to know why the mayor was killed for this.
Like he goes,
and the Penguin goes, the mayor was killed. And he looks at the picture and he goes, well, I'll be damned. and then Batman starts to beat him up.
Dude, if the Penguin was the main villain in this movie, it still would have worked just fine. Like, if he would have been the one kind of manipulating the strings, like, I feel like he could still do that because he's not stupid. No. By any means. He's aggressive.
He's a snake.
He's smart. He's a manipulator. Snake. And most importantly, he's not afraid of the Batman.
Yes.
That dude's not afraid of the Batman. Every time he's face to face with him, never does he cower away or does he, like, give away information just because out of fear.
Except for when Batman was in the car.
Yeah, that show's pretty funny.
That doesn't count.
That doesn't count. Anyone would be scared of that moment.
But yeah, it was like, the key word for this movie, for me at least, was narrative focus. The movie was laser focused on the story I wanted to tell, how that story is going to change the main character and the characters around him. And that was exemplified by the amazing acting and the amazing casting, which is normally indicative of great directing. Normally, if your actors are doing a great job, it means the director's doing something right. He's got them on the set. You know, he's explaining to them what's going on. They read the scripts. Everyone's prepared. And he's getting the right emotions out of the right people. And everyone was so in tune with their character. This is what happens
when Warner Brothers doesn't stick their fingers in the director's movies. Just say, you get a good movie.
That's the question is, we have this pretty solid movie.
Matt Reeves
what are they going to do to fuck it up?
Yeah,
that's the question.
You know what's funny? I was watching an interview with Matt Reeves, and you know how there's the one Joker scene that we get. He said that they filmed another one.
Oh, really?
And that it'll be released sometime in the future. Like he said, for sure, we'll see it sometime in the future. So, because of that, this is his movie. He chose what to cut and what not to cut. He said in his interview that he only kept that one Joker scene in the movie to further push the idea of when at the end when Catwoman's saying the city will eat you alive. So that way it doesn't feel like dull. Like, why is she saying that? Well, it's like, well, now you see that there's this looming threat of the Joker and the Riddler together, so it gives it more impact.
That's gonna be huge.
Yeah, that's gonna be great. So that's why I definitely feel like this was Matt Reeves' movie, all the whole way through. Real quick, let's talk about Catwoman, because she kills it. She's the best Catwoman, number one Catwoman.
Zoe Kravitz.
Dude, she's so good.
Awesome.
She's perfect. She's everything she needed to be. She was seductive, strong, and smart. Funny enough, like, sure, she has her emotional moments, but she never does anything stupid or out of the ordinary, or like she doesn't do anything to compromise what Batman's doing.
Her emotional moments were always for something that she believed was right.
Yeah, not just that, they were deserved.
She
saw her friend dead.
She felt in her heart that Falcone needed to die.
Yeah.
And Batman was the only one there who could have stopped her. But yeah, she was great. I think
I like their little thing where she's kind of like going into the rage and she wants to kill Falcone, but Batman's like,
but yeah, it was
like, yeah, that's the typical, if you just kill, you're just like them. Yeah. But I like that Batman stopped her.
Yes.
For me, because that just shows that Batman like has that mentality already, which is good, because he needs that. He needs that mentality if he wants to, like, that's something that would take, it shouldn't take a whole movie to develop.
Sure.
So I feel like them already kind of sticking in there with Catwoman, it kind of developed with Catwoman. He has it. Now Catwoman has it. I think it was just good. It was simple, easy. I like the way it fit in the script.
Yeah, it was, well, it's the core of the character. Yeah. Batman doesn't kill. That's his thing. Doesn't kill. He doesn't use guns. He doesn't believe in killing.
Oh, he doesn't use guns. That was his one scene with Commissioner Gordon where they're going to where did they go?
It was the old orphanage.
The old orphanage?
It is the old
orphanage. He tells them, no guns. And he goes, yeah, that's your thing, man. Those are the kind of like little witty comments where you feel like they have a good connection.
Yes, that was another thing about this Batman. You mentioned it earlier, or you mentioned it previously. He's snarky.
He's snarky. Yeah, he's very snarky.
He makes these remarks to people just to like bite back when they give him attitude.
Yeah,
it's never.
It's funny.
The funniest one is when he wakes up in the police department, GCPD,
Oh, yeah, that's my favorite. Oh, my favorite scene. That's my favorite scene. Is his whole
and
escape
the higher
sequence.
up goes, I got you on assaulting a police officer.
You got me on assaulting 3.
You got me on 3. That was great. Fun stuff.
I loved it, dude. That's comedy. That's actual comedy.
Yes, that was one thing about this movie. There are moments of levity that are really in the character. They make complete and total sense with the character that they're building, with the world that they've built. It is very natural. It is very organic.
No, dude, literally everything, every single line that they say, perfect. I think it's perfect for those characters.
Yeah.
It fits.
Everything was
Catwoman,
very well
Batman, Gordon, Falcone especially. I don't know how Falcone, but he was an intimidating guy.
Can we talk about Falcone
real
quick?
I love Falcone, man. The actor? I did not expect him. I didn't know he was in this movie.
I had no idea.
I didn't know he was in this movie.
I don't know his name. I'm sorry.
Me either,
I know him.
But he's great. I know who he is.
From Transformers.
That's right.
Sector 7. He was. Oh my god!
Funny
I was
enough,
shocked to see him in this movie.
He kind of plays not the same character, obviously, but like I guess it's just his face. He has a very distinctive face. Where I saw him, well, no, actually that's not true because I didn't think of Transformers at all when I saw him. I was just like, oh, who is this guy? And obviously they start saying it's Falcone. He's the big mob guy, and I like his little mustache, his glasses. He has his glasses on the whole time. He has his glasses on the whole time. Mm-hmm. I just realized that, but it works because he's intimidating. He's like tall but thin, but it feels like he doesn't give a shit, which is good. Like he doesn't give a shit about other people. Mm-hmm. You know, he doesn't give a shit about their feelings. Doesn't care what you have to say. His character's just great. The actor's great. I thought he killed it too.
I was shocked.
Yeah, I loved him. I loved him.
He could do that. The actor, he did great. I'm sorry, I don't know your name. The last time I saw you, you were beneath the enemy scrotum. But his choice, I'm assuming it was his choice. Maybe it was Matt Reeves' choice. But you know who he reminded me of? The character. He reminded me a lot. A lot of it was the way he carried himself. Maybe the mustache. Maybe
he was like this the whole time.
But he reminded me of the Godfather. From the.
Well, I've never seen The Godfather, but
what was his name? Corleone, the eldest. I forget his name. But he
has Godfather
me,
vibes,
especially with his voice. The thing he did with his voice was wonderful.
Very monotone.
It was very Italian mobster sounding, and it was so perfect for this noir story that they're telling. And it was a great contrast. He was very quiet and calm and collected, but he was always calculating. Mm-hmm. He was always calculating how to manipulate the person in front of him.
You could kind of tell in his eyes too, especially at that scene where he's talking with Catwoman, where she's crying and he's kind of looking down at her. I feel like he's thinking.
Yes.
He's like plotting.
He's analyzing her.
What could I do to this?
Yes, exactly.
Get her out of here.
He's analyzing her to figure out what are the right things to say to get what he wants. And it was one of the best parts. And
his intro's great with him and Catwoman. She like, you could tell she kind of scared of him.
Yes.
He doesn't even do anything.
He works as a wonderful contrast to the Penguin.
Yeah.
Who is very...
The Penguin's explosive.
Very vocal. Yes, he's very vocal, explosive. That's a good word. He's
in your face.
Yes, he's very loud and obnoxious. He's the type of gangster to tell you, hey, I think I'm better than you.
Yeah.
And Falcone...
He'll just do it.
He'll just do it. If you do something... He gives off that vibe where if you do something to hurt him, he's going to do something 10 times worse and not even tell you it was him.
I think they're both equally ruthless, though.
Sure.
Right? I think they're both, I think they would both be great mob bosses, which is...
Yeah, the Penguin was going to have Falcone killed in Arkham.
That was one of the best scenes where they're arresting...
Yes, that was one. That was one of my favorites.
Arresting Falcone, and the Penguin comes out. He instantly starts talking shit. He thinks, "Oh, you're the big bad boss now, huh?" Oh, it's so good, dude.
It was so funny.
It's so good.
It was so funny. It made me laugh.
It's funny because that's like the first time we see those two characters together interact,
and they fucking hate each other.
It feels like they have a history.
Yes,
like they have a history together. Like this dude was waiting for his ass to get down. Right, but obviously he couldn't do it because he was in the structure.
Yes,
and
of course the Penguin was pissed already at the time because he found out Falcone's a rat.
That's right. He didn't know that.
Batman thought it was him. Batman thought it was the Penguin, but it was Falcone. So the Penguin goes on. The first thing he says, "You fucking rat."
Fucking rat. That's right.
And Falcone's like, "Oh, you're a big tough guy now." The Penguin's like, "Yeah, maybe I am." And Falcone's like, "Oh, what are you gonna do about it?" And the Penguin's like, "I'm gonna fucking fill you full of lead." He pulls out his fucking gat. That was great. And he tells Falcone, that was one of my favorite lines of the movie. The Penguin goes, "Enjoy your night in Arkham, Falcone. May be your last." Dude, that was lovely. That was
the
great.
Penguin's voice is just great. Have you heard the actor talk?
Yeah.
Talk something like that.
Colin Farrell.
Yeah, Colin Farrell. Talked something like that.
He was wonderful.
But he pulls off the mob voice flawlessly.
Everything about the character, he really grew into it. The voice, the mannerisms, the way he shoots, it's like, kind of like that. It's like
the way he walks around.
Like he's not really in control of his weapon. Like even though he and it was perfect for the Penguin. He has this big persona, but he's small.
Yeah.
Right? He's a small.
He's not like your typical big old fat penguin.
He's not super tall like Falcone. He doesn't tower over you. He's just kind of this guy, kind of pudgy, kind of grotesque looking.
It's his face.
Yes.
It's his face. His face makes him look mean.
But it's his big nose, personality that really makes him stand out. And I think Colin Farrell did such an incredible job portraying that character. I think he and Falcone were my two favorite parts of the movie. Here's a good question. What's your favorite scene of the movie?
My favorite scene is the police escape.
Okay.
Because it starts off, let me break it down. It starts off flawlessly. Yes. Batman's passed out. He wakes up in the
beautiful transition.
Yeah. He wakes up on the little table,
the GCPD table.
Yeah, in the police station, and one of the officers is like, let's just unmask him, and he touches him, and he starts going crazy. He beats everyone up, and then that's where you get that joke where you have him on assaulting 3. Yeah. But yeah, I like it because right after that, they clear the room, and Commissioner Gordon. Instantly.
Hold on. You're missing one of the vital exchanges in the scene.
Oh, that's right. Your favorite. You're one of your favorite exchanges.
Yes, one of my favorite. I love. Okay, here's the thing. One of my favorite things you're gonna get to know about me. I love face-to-face confrontation. I love when a character knows something builds. Or thinks they know something that the other character doesn't about themselves or something they've done, and they go and get in their face about it. So one of my favorite things about that scene. Bruce Wayne wakes up and the higher up he's telling Jim Gordon, he goes, your guy just blew this hostage situation. Get him out of here. And Bruce goes and he confronts this guy. He goes, that hostage was scared.
He'd rather die.
He would rather die than tell the truth. Who was he afraid of?
You.
And the guy goes, you son of a bitch. And Jim Gordon goes, I'll get him to cooperate in 2 minutes. And the guy goes, okay, guys, give him some room. And they all go out. And then, when it's just the two of them, Jim Gordon immediately...
We gotta get you out of here, man.
Punch me in the fucking face, take my keys, go down the hall, get the fuck out of here, I'll meet you later.
I like that he's like he still seems like he's lecturing him. Yeah. But he's just trying to tell him to get out of there.
It was like comical.
It's funny, yeah, it's funny. Instantly.
The way he punches him.
My theater laughed. My entire theater laughed at that. It was good. Like, you gotta get out of here, man. It's like, no one expected it.
Yeah.
I did not expect him to say that. That was the final moment where you're like, okay, this guy's the best.
It's like, okay.
Commissioner Gordon's the best.
Even though it just happened, Jim is on his side.
Yeah, Jim is on his side.
2 years in, they trust each other. Life or death.
It's great.
And it was such a wonderful dynamic. Every scene that they had together, their dynamic just popped off the screen. Mm-hmm. Really great chemistry. One of the things
you could have pulled that punch, man.
Yes, one of the things that helps is that Jim Gordon calls Batman man or dude. Like they're just buddies. And Bruce Wayne, when they're visiting the mayor's car after Alfred cracks that first thing and they're looking for the thumb drive. I forget. Batman says something. And Jim Gordon responds and he's like, well, what about... He's like, Mysteries, what about you, man? It's been 2 years. I don't even know who you are. Yeah. And that made me laugh.
I don't remember saying that.
And it was funny because Batman didn't even say anything to that. I was like,
he's like, you don't know who I am.
Yeah, too bad.
Yeah, you don't even know.
Yeah, all good stuff. It was just... For me, okay.
Let me finish. After that, because that's not my favorite part. That's the start of my favorite part.
Oh, okay.
My favorite part is he's running out. My favorite shot in the whole movie, him going up the zip line. You got the camera there. He's going up, and all the shots are going off. Oh, it's gorgeous, dude. I loved it.
It's a nice perspective shot of Batman.
He's just like
as he's going up, and you see all the cops trying to shoot him, and then he gets to the top, and he gets
even better. Yes,
he goes and he changes he does something to his suit.
Better CGI than Marvel ever could.
And he goes and he jumps off.
The camera follows him. It goes the camera's like he jumps. The camera's here. He jumps into the camera.
Yes.
The camera goes over him, and you see the officers all like kind of reach out for him, trying to grab him, and they just...
Such excellent cinematography. We haven't even touched on the use of color in the movie.
Yeah.
The black and red...
Dude, I can't stand...
Such a great contrast.
People saying there's no color in this movie. You don't know colors, because
right.
There's a ton of color. When I go... Like, my first time watching it, and I came out, all I saw in my head was red.
Yes.
Which is good. You know, because there's a lot of red, but it's there on purpose. But everything else, like, there's just a ton of color. The colors of Gotham that are there, they stick out in their little areas. A lot of the red sticks out. The darks are good.
Yes.
The blacks. Black is a color.
Very true blacks.
People say, oh, there's no colors. There's black. That's a color.
There's lots of Christopher Nolan-esque shots of Batman walking out of the shadows. And
That's great.
The true blacks that the movie offers in contrast with the brighter reds.
Not just that. You know what? You know when you could tell is when he's walking out of the shadows and you instantly see his gray suit.
Oh, yeah.
There's a difference between gray and black.
Yeah.
But that's why a lot of people, they say, oh, it's dark, it's dull, there's no colors. People need to understand that you need black to make color, to stand out. You need to have that contrast. If you just have bright and bright together, it looks crappy.
Yes, actually, you can see here in the 2 Little Caesars posters we have.
Look at the light on the car right here.
Yes.
It looks like the headlights are actually on.
Black and red were the colors that were thematically important to the story.
It's great here with Zoe Kravitz. Like, this side's all black, but that's because she's facing kind of this way. This side's red. Just like that, that's how it is in the movie.
Yeah, it's like, it is a noir detective movie.
Yeah.
And it's not that the movie has a lack of color, it's that the colors that it chooses to show are purposefully placed there to help you
understand.
Not understand.
Feel. Kind of feel.
Interpret.
Oh.
They're there to kind of help you interpret a type of visual storytelling that only those colors could do, to make you feel what the characters are feeling, to make you understand the tone of what's the drama of that scene, the seriousness of it.
Yeah, I don't get why people complain that the movie's too dark or too gritty. That's the point.
I mean, the movie's very dark, but
that's the point.
It's by design.
Yeah, they do that on purpose. They could throw colors everywhere all they wanted, and it would make the movie worse. If you grab this exact same movie and change the colors, it would look worse. It would be a worse movie.
Yeah, visually,
it would look ugly.
It's a very
the action sequences would be trash.
Movie. Very stylized.
Imagine if you saw Batman walking out of a corner and you saw him the whole time.
Yeah, it's
would be the point of that. He'd be walking all slow. He'd be like, "What's with this guy?" Yeah, there's just saying there's no color is just wrong because there's a ton of color. There's a ton of color. That's what makes it so visually striking. Like in the car chase scene.
Yes.
When he blows over the fire.
Yes.
That fire looks like fire, dude. It's orange. It's huge. It's strong.
Yes.
It's great. I love it. But what was your favorite scene?
My favorite scene was the hostage situation.
Oh, that's right. We haven't touched on that yet. We haven't touched on a lot of scenes.
From the beginning of that scene where Bruce Wayne he walks in and there's the crowd of people outside and they all want to take pictures of him. Mm-hmm. Like the way he's reacting to like the lights of the camera. Yeah, he looks like he's not used to the daytime.
No.
He's used to the nocturnal.
He says that.
Night.
I'm a nocturnal animal.
Yeah,
he says that in the beginning.
He says it. It's in his notes. Nocturnal animal.
Sorry, it's in his notes.
And it's again visually represented when they're taking pictures of him. He's like, get the fuck away from me. And then he walks in and.
I like when the mayor's talking to him and he's like barely paying attention.
Right, I think it was right before that, or maybe it was right after. I know she went to talk to him, and then she was like, "Oh, I'll be right back," and then she walked away.
Pay respects.
And I think it was at that point. Oh, pay respects. I think it was at that point he ran into that guy.
The guy
who was talking about the mayor, and he was like, "I don't know why." He was like, I don't know why anyone's mourning him. As far as I'm concerned, it's another.
This is one of those moments where they stick a character in there. Some people miss these moments where they stick a random character in there, and they're like, "Why is this character here?" He's there for a reason.
Yes.
A good director will put a character like that in for a reason. Because he came out of nowhere. It's just some random dude. But you're listening to what he's saying. His dialogue is important.
Well, it still works. Here's the thing. Even if he didn't come back later, it still works.
Yeah, it's still... Yeah.
Because at that point in the story, Bruce doesn't know who the Riddler is.
That's right.
And now there's this guy telling him, oh, he's another one of those rich bastards who just died.
What the Riddler's
good riddance. Who cares that they're dead? And Bruce gives him a look.
He's kind of like staring at him.
He's the
like,
fucking guy that I'm looking for? Who are you?
Why are you
and then there was
this?
a wonderful shot where the dude realizes who he's talking to because he says, do I know you?
I'm sure Bruce or the Riddler has already exposed...
Oh, maybe.
Batman to the... Like, I'm sure they know the plan. So I feel like that's why he knows Bruce Wayne kind of similarly.
At that point, something distracts Bruce and then he turns back and there's a nice shot of the guy just kind of disappearing into the shadow. And I remember watching it and I was like...
That's the mayor. That's when the mayor comes up and starts walking with him.
I was like, oh, is that one?
Yeah, that's when the mayor comes up.
And I was like, this is such a fun kind of whodunit.
Uh-huh.
You know,
yeah, I like how he's kind of creeps.
There's a serial killer and Bruce doesn't know who it is. Could be anybody here. And it's even if that guy didn't come back later, which he did, but even if he didn't, that scene still would have worked to kind of create a tension, to make it feel like even though Bruce is in a crowd full of people, it's still closing in on him. This threat is not going to go away. He has to go and he has to beat the Riddler. And
it's funny, it feels like the threat's always near him.
Yes, it
constantly,
does.
the whole movie.
It does.
But it's funny because it is.
Yes, it
the
is.
Riddler's just up there across watching him the whole time. Like he's surrounded by the enemy the entire time, and you could tell he feels that.
And the car comes through and he saves the kid. We haven't even talked about the kid yet.
That's
but
right,
the car comes through and he saves the kid. And just before that is when he sees the Riddler just standing there. You hear the car getting closer.
The sunlight's kind of fading in.
You
only see his silhouette.
Obscuring him, and all the people are kind of going to look at the car, and Bruce he's just standing there looking at him.
You know it's him.
And you know it's him.
That shot lets you know that even in Bruce's eyes, you kind of see it.
Bruce knows it.
Yeah, a little bit of a realization. That's funny because Robert Pattinson does a lot of his acting through his eyes.
Yes, he does.
In this movie, he doesn't say a whole lot. I mean, he does, but most of his emotions come not from his mouth but from his eyes.
Yes, this is one of the reasons I liked this scene. This was my favorite scene. It's because once the hostage reveals himself to be the guy who was missing, Jim Gordon was just telling someone, "Oh, so and so is missing. We don't know where he is." The car comes in. Here it comes. He got a bomb attached to his neck.
Gordon's like, "Get everyone out."
Yes, Gordon's like, "Clear house. Get out." Everyone leaves.
I like when the phone rings, they all freak out because they all think that's going to be the device.
The phone rings and everyone panics. They think it's going to detonate. And that's when Jim Gordon has everyone get out. And there's the note on his chest says to the Batman. And I loved that they cuts to the outside and it's like darker.
Time's passed.
And they're sending the robot in. And there's like hours that have passed. And it's like, I don't know, it was just a funny way to tell you that they just take forever to get anything done, the GCPD.
Yeah.
There's this guy, a live hostage with a bomb attached to his neck.
And it took some time.
Hours for them to clear everyone out, get a robot, get a bomb unit in there, send it in to go and look at the
He could have died at any point.
Everyone's got to go and look at the camera. And I loved, this is one of my favorite shots of the movie. The place is empty. There is a bomb, a hostage with a bomb attached to it. And Batman just walks in. Just walks up to him.
It's funny because it takes a shot, like if you're the hostage, it's like here. You kind of see the hostage there on the side. Yes. And then all of this is just empty and you just see Batman.
Yes. It was like a really great wide shot. A lot of negative space not being used. And it felt like it makes you... It's a visual representation that the hostage is alone. He's lonely. Mm-hmm. But here comes Bruce. Here comes the Batman.
When he does walk through,
over here,
you gotta feel.
And there's the heft of his footsteps. His armor is heavy, and he walks in. He's just so big and bravado, and it's like he's inspiring. Yeah, and he walks up to the hostage, and it was my favorite scene. The scene made Batman so intelligent. The Riddler is giving him riddles. He says, "You can solve these 3 riddles."
Batman gets it instantly,
and that was my favorite thing. The hostage, he's fumbling over his words. He's afraid.
Repeat that. What you said.
Can you repeat that? I would give the wrong answer.
I can never solve those if I'm in that situation.
And Bruce is calm as ever, thinking about it, gets the answer, says it to him. The dude says, "Oh, it's this," and the Riddler goes, "All right, next question."
I know the Riddler in that scene is great.
It was great.
The dude's voice, I just love everything he says. Is very what's the word I'm looking for?
Calculated.
Yeah, but like his sentences, they're like he's saying not prophecies. What are they called? Fuck. Like he'll say like something you see like in a Bible verse.
Oh, biblical.
Yeah. His phrases are very biblical. Like he talks very biblical, but it's cool. It's cool, especially with his voice. It's just great. But I love him in that scene.
Yeah, everything about that scene. I loved that Bruce kind of lets his anger get the best of him, and that's why I loved it. He is still,
tell me who he is.
Yes, he goes from helping the hostage to interrogating the hostage, which was great. And then the hostage says, "You're looking at a dead man. I'm not going to tell you because
that's where the scene.
Just so afraid.
That's how the scene escalates. Because first of all, the Riddler just starts the thing.
Yes.
Beep. It's like instantly you're like, oh shit, okay, the time started. Mm-hmm. All right, now he says the first riddle. The guy's like, oh, I don't know. Repeat that. Mm-hmm. And Batman's just kind of standing there, justice. Yeah. All right, because he solves it, and the Riddler's like, oh, justice, what you should have been serving,
right,
along with the other people. And then you get to question number 2, and it's like, oh, what's the price for your blind eye?
Yes.
And the guy still doesn't know. Batman instantly,
he says, "You know."
Yeah.
Batman says, "You know the answer.
Yeah,
what was the bribe you took?"
Yeah.
Tell him.
He told him bribe, and then he says, But the guy says bribe, and he goes, "No, you idiot. That's not the answer. He's asking you."
Yes.
He's asking like, "Oh, how much did it take?" And that's where he goes, 10 G's. And he goes, "Oh, 10 G's a month." He's like babbling. He's kind of wasting time unintentionally because he's scared and he's nervous. And then you get to question number 3, and that's what's their question?
I don't remember what the third question was. He asked him the money, and then
the rat.
Oh right.
Yeah, he asked about the rat, and Batman says he wants to know about the rat.
Yes.
And then he goes, "How did you know that?" And it kind of creeps from the minute he says the rat. I think he like kind of decides like, yes, it's over. And that's how it builds up because it gets more and more intense, more and more at stake. And the whole time you hear the thing clicking down.
Yes.
And I feel like it is 2 minutes, like a real 2 minutes.
I'm not sure. I couldn't tell you.
It felt like it. It felt like a real 2 minutes. It felt like quick but long, as if you were in that situation. Like it just took forever.
Yes.
But you feel like you have no time. Mm-hmm. So when that third question comes and he tells him, he's like, "Dude, I'm a dead man either way. If I tell you, they're gonna kill me regardless, and my family. Mm-hmm. But if I don't tell you, at least I just die." And that's why the whole sequence with him at the officer is great, because all this was at stake. Mm-hmm. All this was at stake. He didn't want to say who the rat was, and it's funny because even that's where you say Batman's anger gets to him. He's all up in the dude's face with the bomb at 10 seconds.
Yes,
and you see that clearly. He keeps the timer in frame. Mm-hmm. He keeps the timer in frame. You're like, dude, fucking 10 seconds, like run. And he's not running. He's just trying to get the information out of him. Then the explosion comes. He's like, it just looks...
Yes.
It's great. It's cool. It's badass.
It was all good stuff. I loved that scene.
I love that scene.
I think that was easily my favorite scene. My favorite action scene would have been the Batmobile chase sequence.
That
was so well done.
Dude, I love the shot of... The cinematography in this movie, 10 out of 10.
Yes.
This dude puts cameras in the most creative places. The car one is the one I always say where they're driving and he puts it at the right back tire. Feels like you're in Forza, but it really lets you know how fast they're going. The other one that I always talk about is where they're at the location of the Riddler, where he's been doing all this stuff, and they have the cage with the bat in it, and they have the camera all the way at the back, and Batman's like reaching and the bat's flying around everywhere. They don't do this enough, man. Like movies don't do this enough. Yeah, it's little things like that make you appreciate and remember the scenes.
Yeah, I wish I knew the name of the cinematographer.
Yeah, cinematographers need more praise, in my opinion.
He or she and Matt Reeves did a great job telling the story with the camera. And it was noticeable immediately in not the opening sequence, but when the movie technically like really starts. And
in the opening sequence too, he's watching him, and then he looks up at the entrance thing.
I'm talking about the one that stood out to me was when we're watching from the Riddler's perspective, and he's watching the mayor, and then he pans up and you see the open thing at the top, and then you cut late to nighttime. It's raining, and that thing is open.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
And the movie tells you,
he got in.
He got in through there. That thing he was just looking at. Now we're seeing it from that. That's visual storytelling. Yes, there's many, many, many moments like that in the movie that made for such a great. It's like the movie puts you in the detective's footwear, and it was great. Another scene that does when Batman walks into the mayor's crime scene, and it cuts. The camera's on the floor on the blood spot, and then Batman walks to it,
and the camera lady comes over.
Right, and then Batman takes note of it, walks away, and the camera lady's like,
she's like,
fucking blood right here. Let me take a picture. Yeah, great cinematography. That's
cool. That also makes me feel like she's like, if Batman noticed that, then I should take a picture of it. It gives me one of those moments. Yeah, you know what I'm saying, where like the character, they have a subconscious respect for Batman. Like, there's a reason why he looked at this. I'll take a picture of it.
He took note of that.
Yeah,
that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, maybe it's important. Let me take a picture.
Right.
But while we're there, the little boy.
Yes.
The governor's son. Their very first. They have a connection like 3 times. 3 times in the movie they have a connection. The first one is when his dad's dead and he's walking over and he sees him and they kind of just stare at each other.
Yes.
But this is where Robert Pattinson does the acting through his eyes and everything.
That was one of the most powerful scenes.
Yeah, he says, "I'm sympathizing for this kid" without saying a single word.
Yeah, he's just looking at him.
Yeah, that kid's a great actor. That kid looks sad.
And it's almost like that's why I loved Robert Pattinson's acting in this. You could interpret his look as, one, he's sympathizing with the child, right? It's reminding him of himself. And 2, he almost wishes he could have been there. to have stopped it, to have prevented this child, because he learns
that's important. That's important. We'll
he
get back
sees
to that.
the miniature footstep in the blood, and I think Jim Gordon tells me, he goes, "Yeah, the kid found him." And Bruce immediately goes over and he sees him and he just locks eyes with him, and it was just an immediate like, "I'm sorry you had to see that. I'm sorry I couldn't do anything about it."
The second time at the funeral.
Then the second time at the funeral,
kind of the same thing. He's like, "I'm sorry you have to be here, man. Like, it's tough that you have to be burying your father."
Yes.
And then that's where. Oh, that's why I like that scene where the car breaks through and he looks up at the Riddler. He could have easily gone for him. The Riddler was right there, but instead he saves the kid. Instantly turns around, saves the kid, no hesitation. He looks up, sees the Riddler, sees the car coming. Shit, I gotta save the kid.
Yeah.
Saves the kid. It's great. And it all comes together. Where at the end, where everything's flooded and they're all behind that cage thing. It's actually funny because you know how Batman comes and he moves the thing.
Yeah.
Did you notice that 3 people were trying to move it before?
Oh yeah.
And they couldn't do it. And Batman comes just.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's so Batman, dude. That's so great.
And it was nice because the movie doesn't make a big deal out of it.
Yeah, it doesn't.
There's a lot of moments like that where
he does a Batman thing.
He just does a Batman thing. Yeah. Because it's like in the background. And you see like 3 people. They're like nudging at it. They can't. Some people inside are pushing. They can't get it. Then Bruce Wayne just comes over.
Easy.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
That scene almost made me laugh because he reaches his hand in, and I swear I've only seen the movie once. Take this with the grain of salt, but I swear it appears that he's reaching for the hand of the mayor.
No, you're
and then out of the side comes a little hand, and the boy grabs his hand, and I was like, excuse you, kid. Batman was trying to save the new mayor. Get out of the way.
No, when watching it, he's just reaching. Yeah, he's just reaching because he kind of looks.
He
kind of looks at everybody.
Yeah,
but that's why you don't see the kid in the frame. But I knew, like, oh, who's gonna be the one to reach out? It's gonna be this kid. Yeah, because this kid trusts Batman from the very beginning. That's where all these exchanges come in. And sure enough, the kid comes out. You're just like, yes.
Yeah,
and everyone follows.
It was a really great moment, and it kind of ties into his arc of not just using fear to scare people, but he should use it to inspire. He should use his abilities to inspire the good people as opposed to just scaring the bad people.
Yeah, real quick.
What he was doing unintentionally, he was inspiring evil people who thought they were doing good, just like him, but from their twisted perspective.
I was gonna say that. Let's talk about his overall arc because that all connects. It all connects with him not having a Bruce Wayne, and with him and the villains.
Yes.
Because first of all, the theme is that he's vengeance, right? And vengeance is kind of like avenging.
It's personal.
Yeah, it's
vengeance is personal. He does it for him.
He does it for him, where he wants to get back at what the villain's done. But that's where that's bad because as a superhero, he should be there to prevent the problem from ever occurring, and that's exactly what he learns by the end. How should I structure this? Let's see. He's saving everybody and he's getting them out of the flood. But towards the end, he kind of realizes, like, hey, like, this is why I feel like he lost. Kind of. He kind of lost, but he feels like the city's already screwed. And it's partially my fault. Like, I could have done more to prevent this. He needs to be more than just vengeance. He needs to be Batman, and even more than that, he needs to be helping outside of Batman. Which is where he needs to be Bruce Wayne. Which is why there's a huge lack of Bruce Wayne in this movie. It's because he doesn't know any of that yet. And that's his overall character arc, is he needs to be bigger than Batman. He can't just be Batman. He didn't
know yet that he could make a change without beating people up. And that's where Bruce Wayne comes in. He could use his money at his disposal to do good things. He could use the arsenal at his disposal to do good things outside of just beating people up. And that's what makes him Batman. That's what made the ending so powerful.
Good, dude, so good.
And that was one of my favorite shots. The woman's afraid to go with the medical people in the helicopter, and she grabs him on his arm as if to say,
he's like shocked,
as if to say, "Don't let him take me." And he's surprised by it.
Again, Ben Affleck, or not Ben Affleck, Robert Pattinson
does a great reaction.
Acting with his eyes.
Does a great reaction. He just goes and he just comforts her, puts his hand on her hand. And then she looks at the medical people.
He even nods a little bit. Yeah.
And she's like, okay, I'm ready.
He gives a nod to her too.
Yeah.
He gives a nod, and that's where she nods back.
As if to tell you're going to be okay.
Fine. Yeah, like they got
trust these people. Go with them. They're going to help you. And she's like, okay. And she tells the medical professionals, okay, let's go.
Let's go.
And then that's when he's giving the monologue. And that's when he says, I need to be more than just vengeance.
Yeah. It happens, so the whole movie, he's just doing what the Riddler wants. right? And I feel like because he does what the Riddler wants and everything goes wrong, that's where the vengeance comes in. Mm-hmm. But if he was more than just vengeance, he would be able to like overcome that, and that's why I feel like the whole everything. We'll talk about the Riddler right now too because we haven't talked about him. But I feel like that's why everything with the Riddler's plan works perfect with his growth, because I feel like he's being manipulated the whole time. He's being manipulated, and after you're manipulated, that's where you would want to act your vengeance because you've seen that you've been wronged. Right, and then I was gonna say he finally noticed it when he beats the crap out of that guy who ended up being the guy in the at the funeral. Then the guy says, "I am vengeance." When they ask like who the hell are you, he goes, "I'm vengeance," and it's funny because he is vengeance. He's not wrong. He is getting back at these corrupt politicians, higher ups. So he in his mind. And his idea, he is also vengeance.
Yes.
But that's why vengeance is not enough for Batman.
Yes.
He needs to be more than that. So that's why it was so good. It was a really good arc.
It was a good arc.
I loved it, man.
Really great arc.
It's good to see that. If you're saying that not enough Bruce Wayne, you missed the whole movie. I don't know what you were watching. You missed the whole movie.
Yeah, how could you say this movie doesn't have enough Bruce Wayne? This movie has exactly what you need
from Bruce Wayne
for the story that they're trying to tell. It all plays perfectly into his character growth as the movie goes on. But yeah, let's talk about the Riddler.
The Riddler, oh man, so good. Okay, let's say what we like about the Riddler because I know you have a problem with the Riddler's plan at the end.
Go for it.
But let's first of all, the Riddler's voice
dope
is great. His costume
dope,
great. His plan great. Okay. I loved it.
It's great till the end.
I loved his plan all the way through. But it's funny because he's a serial killer and he acts like a serial killer. I like his cry. He cries like a psychopath.
He cries like somebody with severe mental problems.
Yeah.
Someone who.
But that's why it's scary. That's why
damaged.
It's intimidating. Yeah. I mean, the funny thing is you kind of feel for the Riddler's backstory a little bit.
Yeah.
Because he tells you, he tells you about the orphan. He had a bad life. And you're like, damn, that sucks. But at the end of the day, he's a serial killer.
It's like, damn, that sucks. Shouldn't have killed those
people. Yeah.
Too fucking time to kick your ass.
Yeah, but it's funny because, a lot of people were saying that they wanted more Riddler. I
didn't feel that at all.
I don't think so. I think his presence was there the whole time.
So he was.
He was literally there the whole time.
In every pivotal scene, he is at the center of it. I don't understand. Anyone could say it needs more Riddler.
I think people are saying they need more Riddler because they like him. Because when he finally comes face to face with Batman, it's great.
Yeah.
So people are saying, yeah, I want more Riddler. I want more Riddler too. I want more everything. I want more Batman, more Riddler, more Catwoman, more Gordon. But if you're saying you want more Riddler because you didn't think there was enough of him in the film, like, as a negative, I feel like
it's a strange perspective.
Yeah, it's weird to say that because he controls the movie the whole time. He controls the movie. His little live things are the funniest thing in the world. They're great. I love, when they get to his final last revive, he's just like, hey guys, thanks for the donations.
He's just out of character.
Yeah, but
he did what he wanted.
Yeah, he did what he wanted. But anytime he exposes someone, he has his grand sentences and his grand reveal. It's just great. I liked his costume. Funny enough,
I liked his costume.
It was simple, but
it was very modern.
It was effective.
It was very. Yeah, it's hard to explain. It was such a simple costume, but it fit
for this Gotham.
For this Riddler.
Yeah, for this Riddler, for this Gotham, for this Batman. It was just.
He keeps his mask on, masks his voice, doesn't want to find out who he is. He's got the.
He talks about with Batman how the mask allows him to.
It changes himself.
Yeah, it changes him. Which they kind of show in those live streams because when he's not talking normal, not killing someone, he's just a normal guy, kind of. He seems like obviously he's thinking about killing people, but he's not like weird and like I don't know. He's just a normal guy.
He's not totally socially inept.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, he's not.
At least seemingly.
Yeah, seemingly. From what we saw.
We don't see him, in a room full of normal people conversing with them or anything like that. But
he does.
In that scene, in his final broadcast where he's not in character, he just seems like some guy.
Just talking to his followers.
It's like, that's how he was able to radicalize these followers of his. He's able to convince them to go and commit this horrible crime.
It's like he has his like psycho mindset and then like his terrorist mindset. Right? You know what I mean? When he's not a psycho, he's a terrorist, but like he's not crazy. Yes. But he's still a terrorist. You know what I mean? But then when he's in this mask and he's psycho, you're like, oh, this dude's demented. He's just killing everybody. And you know what I love most about it is when he murders people, he like goes crazy.
He's emotional.
Yeah, he's like, oh, he smacks him. He's just yelling the whole time.
That was something I took note of when he
the very first kill. Yeah, the very first kill. Because after he kills him, he kind of like he takes his deep breath. Like he's kind of like
it's a satisfaction.
Yeah, I feel like he's recapturing himself, but like he's like trying to be in the moment.
Yes.
For him, which is kind of like how they would be. So he's just great. He's a great villain. I would put him.
He is a great villain.
I would put him right under the Joker. Right under, if not right next to, because. I think he's great.
Very well acted.
Yeah, very well acted. That's what I'm saying. Like everything together. Like obviously Heath Ledger's Joker is legendary, and the Joker's plan was legendary. But I feel like this Riddler lived up to it.
Yes.
Great acting, great plan. Like I could see the argument for both. People are saying, "Oh, I like the Joker better," or "I like the Riddler better." It's fine. They're both great.
Yeah.
You would still think.
Joker's infinitely better.
I'm biased because this is my favorite Batman movie. I'm biased.
It's that last part. Let me get into the reason. The last part, it didn't stick the landing for me.
His plan.
There was something about his plan that didn't jive with me, and I'm curious if anyone else.
We'll hear what he has to say, and then we'll go with me. You go first.
Because the Riddler's whole thing is he is killing people who were attached to the Maroni case. Crooked people. He is killing people who had some hand in the Maroni case who are now using elements of that to better themselves, as opposed to the city. Places like the orphanage, which is kind of his origin there. The orphanage was abandoned after Thomas Wayne was murdered. He made the promise, and then he was murdered.
$1 billion fund.
$1 billion fund.
So Gotham.
Yes, and
that's
then
crazy.
The orphanage was kind of left in the dust because all these people were going and
they got the money for themselves.
They were taking that money that was supposed to go to them, and so he went and he started killing these people who were specifically taking that money.
It's great.
And so from certain people's perspective, like his followers, like Catwoman, they go, oh, as far as I'm concerned, this guy's doing the right thing. He's going out there. He's not killing good people. Mm-hmm. He's killing these people who are selfish, who don't care about the smaller people. Yeah. Lying. Yes, he's going and he's doing us all a favor. And the plan was perfect. And let me just say this personally, I thought the movie was
better than The Dark Knight.
Just as good, if not better than The Dark Knight, up until the big reveal of his grand plan. Everything was perfect. And then they reveal that he put 7 bombed vans around the edges of the city to flood it.
It still works.
And it lost me there. Because the question is, why is he flooding the city?
I feel like he had a hate for Gotham.
He didn't have a hate for Gotham. He had a hate for corrupt people. He never once
looked
at the smaller people and said he wanted to hurt any of them.
No, but that's what I'm saying. He doesn't have a hate for the people. He has a hate for the city. Like, literally the city as it stands, figuratively.
And it would have worked if he said, I want to cleanse the city. Yeah, but he didn't say that. All he wanted to do was kill the higher-ups, and then suddenly he's flooding the city just to have his people shoot the governor, and his people are up there with a whole bunch of ammo, and they want to shoot one person after flooding the city.
Yeah, it would have been good if they wanted to just honestly shoot him out.
It would have been better if he was planning. This is going to sound terrible when I say it, but it would have been
it's a movie.
More engaging if his plan was to start a mass shooting, flood the city, get the people there, and then commit this horrible, heinous crime.
Because you would kill everybody. You would kill the rich people there.
Still kill these people.
You would kill the poor there, but cleanse the city.
And that would have worked if he said he wanted to cleanse the city. But at no point does he say that. And so I thought that the last portion of his plan, it didn't match his ideology in the same way that the Joker's big plan matched his ideology. Mm-hmm. The Joker had a trump card. The Riddler. It felt to me like somebody, maybe an executive, maybe it was Matt Reeves himself, somebody watched the movie and said
wanted a big finale.
Right, and said this is not big enough, the scope isn't grand enough, it's not exciting enough.
Still did the job.
We need it to be bigger. And so then they concocted this idea of flooding the city just to kill one person basically, but inadvertently killing everyone else. I don't know, it felt weird. It felt kind of contradictory to what the Riddler ultimately wanted. And I don't know. There's something about it. It felt rocky. It still got the job done, but that sequence in and of itself, where Batman learns that he's flooding the city and he's there and he's fighting off the goons, everything in that scene felt like it was directed by somebody else. It was losing that intelligence that the rest of the movie had. So let me give you an example. Bruce Wayne he's beating up these followers of the Riddler, and he ends up and he's hanging off the edge of the thing, and he ends up in that position like 2 to 3 times.
Yeah, he's in trouble.
And each time the movie is acting as if he's in trouble. Just if he falls, fall and then get back up, you have a retractable grappling hook. This is not stakes. Like, why are you? What is this?
I get you.
And it felt like the tension was quickly deflating. Everything that was leading up to that was suddenly going away in service of this big, grand ending.
It does happen a few times, because I was saying how I pointed out that it seems like something dramatic would happen, but it doesn't.
Yes.
Like when Batman cuts the thing and he falls into the water to cut the electricity, it makes it sound like he's going to die or something, but then he just gets right back up and you're like, oh, okay. Right. And then there's a whole thing with him hanging and the guy with the shotgun. You know someone's going to come save him, but it makes it feel like something dramatic's going to happen.
I did not like that at all.
It does happen a few times.
That specific scene, Catwoman, the guy has Batman at gunpoint. He's going to blow his face off with the double-barreled shotgun. Here comes Catwoman.
It is very, like, watching it, you knew what was going to happen. And because of that, it feels very, like,
it felt
basic?
Much less thought out
than the
rest of the story. And it felt like somebody else made it. It didn't feel like Matt Reeves directed it. It felt very modern and simple in its take of action.
It's kind of hard, to be honest. I feel like no one can really nail that third act. The Dark Knight does it.
I was just going to say, it's already happened.
The Dark Knight does it. But for me, it's like, it wasn't perfect, but I thought it was good enough. For me, it still works.
It does still work. It gets the job done. It's not a bad ending.
Well, for me, I still like it. Because for me, like, I felt that the Riddler, he sets up this plan, but he tells them already he's going to do it. When he gives them the tool and says, my confession. Yes. The plan's laid out there, and, there's a whole scene where he's like, oh, you're not as smart as I thought you were.
He's saying it's their fault. You could have stopped this.
But that's what I was saying. So he did this plan with the intention of telling him what he was going to do. And I feel like he does that simply because of the fact he's crazy and a murderer. And for me, that's enough to say that it works. Yeah. Like, I don't think it goes against his ideologies. I feel like it's still fine. Obviously, flooding everybody in just to shoot the mayor was, not obviously the best. But I feel like it works with what he was setting up.
I don't think
He's like, oh, I'm going to flood this city. Everyone's going to be there. Might as well use the opportunity and kill her. Take shots at her, It is kind of weird. I feel it would have been more effective if it was a mass shooting. Because obviously Batman could come in and just fight all of them. And it feels more at stake. More at stake would be there if more people's lives were at risk. Right. But as for, like, the bomb itself and him deciding to flood, I feel like the Riddler was crazy enough to do that. Like, for me, he was just a psychotic killer. He just wanted to do evil. Right? He wanted to screw things up. I know, like, he still has this whole thing with he wants to do just the corruption. But I feel like that was never just his goal.
But it was. Yeah. Him being crazy doesn't justify this sudden shift in his plan. Yeah. It's not enough for me.
It's the grand finale, though.
Oh, he's crazy.
Most serial killers will have a grand finale. Like, they have to have, like, one big thing where they could be like, oh, like, I did that. That's why I feel like it works.
Yeah, nah, man. It didn't work for me. Just because it doesn't match his ideology. Him being crazy doesn't make it match his ideology. He specifically says multiple times, I'm here to kill the corrupt politicians, the corrupt people who should have upheld justice. He is specifically holding these people accountable. Mm-hmm. He is vengeance. Killing the people, everyone in the city. What? That is so against everything you've been doing up until this point. Him being crazy, I don't know, it's not enough to warrant it for me. It's like, imagine this.
He's a serial killer, though.
Imagine you're watching The Dark Knight, right? And everything in The Dark Knight is playing out exactly as planned. And then the Joker, he says, oh, I rigged these 2 boats, and I'm going to send them both into the city, and they're going to blow up.
But the Joker still had his fallback. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, if you're saying it's Joker's ideology, his ideology is just to cause chaos. If chaos doesn't pursue, why does he want to, like...
His ideology is not to cause chaos. His ideology is to prove that people are inherently evil.
Okay, so let's say that's his ideology, right? Mm-hmm. And he wants to prove that these people are evil, but they end up not being evil. Yes. Then why does he decide to kill them? With his backup bomb.
What? Joker never did that.
Yeah, well, he has a backup bomb right at the end. He's like, oh, well, I'll just blow it up myself.
Oh yeah.
Right. That goes against his ideologies. Why would he want to blow them up if his point was just proven wrong?
And because he had Harvey Dent, he still had his trump card. He was going to win. He's a killer, but his plan was still in line with his ideology.
Yeah, I understand the Harvey Dent thing.
But this Riddler never had... that's why the ending felt, at least from the Riddler side of the story, it wasn't as satisfying. It wasn't as narratively clear. It was right up until he showed he was going to flood the city. Once that was the goal, and that was revealed to be his grand scheme, I was like, you've been killing all these corrupt politicians specifically attached to the Moroni case so you can flood the city? What?
Yeah, I mean...
And it doesn't have its footing underneath it the way that the Joker's plan did. And I hate to compare the Riddler to the Joker.
They're similar.
They're two very different characters, but
they are similar.
They share their similarities, and the stories up until that point are just as intelligent as each other.
The Riddler's honestly better.
That's why I really want... Yes,
up
the Riddler is... He's so him
clashing with Batman's idea of what vengeance is.
Yes,
it's great.
It was just as interesting as the Joker's ideology versus Batman's in The Dark Knight, and that's why I was so excited to see the ending, and that's why I was real bummed out when it was the big bombastic "I'm gonna flood the city" ending.
I still liked it. I mean, we got Batman kicking ass, so
yeah, we still got
in a storytelling essence. You know, it may not have been the best.
Yes, that was the only thing that was literally my only gripe with the movie. Up until that point,
I could see that
everything is borderline perfect.
Great,
borderline perfect. Everything up until that point is amazing.
I know a lot of people did say that they felt like the third act was kind of like rushed, random, and I feel like it feels like that because of what you're saying.
It's right. It's not that it felt rushed. Really, honestly, it felt like someone else thought of it. It didn't feel like it was Matt Reeves' idea to have the Riddler flood the city. It seemed like he had a very fleshed out idea of who the Riddler was.
Okay, well, let's think about the alternative that we came up with was him exposing the Batman.
Yes.
Because he knows his identity, and they kind of hint at that.
Yes.
Which is why he may feel that, the Riddler's
such a great
Riddler's third plan is kind of, or third act of the plan is kind of, like overboard. Yeah, the Batman's looking, and the Riddler, he's looking at all his little details. No one else catches it because there's so much crap on the wall.
This is in the Riddler's apartment.
Yeah, in the Riddler's apartment. No one catches it because there's so much crap on the wall, but Batman instantly sees everything.
Sees a picture of himself, and in the text it says, I know who you really are. Alluding to the fact that the Riddler knows who the
And he even says, this may be the end.
Yes.
Gordon says the end of what? He goes, the Batman. Because he does think he will expose him. Because he says he thinks he's his final target.
Yes.
He thinks...
So here's...
That ideology kind of goes away.
Right.
Yeah, it does kind of go away. But they could use it for later. That's how I was like, it's not a bad ending. Yeah, it's not a bad ending. It's still fun. It's great to watch. It's chaotic. You get to see more Batman.
It just wasn't perfect. And it's so terrible to ask a movie to be perfect.
Yeah.
But it's because everything was up until that point.
I think if they do use that against him later on in some other movie, it would be acceptable in this one.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because that could be the Riddler's trump card.
It's like, okay, they didn't do it here, but he was setting it up because in this movie...
That could be the Riddler's trump card. Hey, I know who this guy
totally
is.
Possible.
I'm going to expose the crap out of him, That's where you have the whole scene with the Joker.
Yes.
Their little laugh and their friends or buddies. But I feel like that's... Hopefully that's what they use against him. Is that he knows his identity, because...
That was cute. The Joker gives the Riddler a riddle to make friends with him. He says, what's more valuable, the less you have of it? And the Riddler goes, a friend. That was great. That was lovely. I love that.
They just start laughing. It's great.
But yeah, literally, I don't have like a problem with that with that big finale. It's just
weaker.
It's just weaker.
It feels weaker than the rest of the movie. Yes. But that's not to say it's bad.
Yes.
But it feels weaker than the rest of the movie. I get you.
The character arcs are still completed in a very satisfying way. I love the way Bruce Wayne's arc ends.
Oh, it's perfect, dude.
It was perfect. It was really... Because it starts with him monologuing.
Right off the back.
And the last line of his monologue is when he says in real time, I am vengeance. And it just sets up the theme perfectly for where he is. And then at the end of the movie, he again, in the narration, says, I need to be more than that.
Needs to be more than Batman.
And it's very organic. It's very well done.
It works. Alfred feels the same way.
Yes.
Alfred, works with Alfred. Commissioner Gordon is already strong with Batman. That's great because you get to continue. You don't have to worry about that storyline because it's not. We've seen it a billion times.
And so, character-wise, everything's wrapped up in a nice, neat little bow. Actually, speaking of characters at the end, I loved when, I forget who was speaking. It may have been the mayor or maybe Catwoman speaking to Batman, but somebody is saying in a voiceover, there's going to be a power grab in Gotham that,
Batman
people are
says
going to... Oh, is it Batman?
Yeah, Batman says that.
And as they're saying that, they're juxtaposing that with the image of the Penguin looking over the city as if to visually say he wants it. And so I'm really hoping that they pull a Batman Returns and the Penguin runs for mayor.
That'd be great.
That would be amazing if he uses this situation to try and get some political leverage.
You know what would be interesting if he runs for mayor and not Batman, Bruce Wayne runs against him, but he's exposed by the Riddler for him to be. Oh, that'd be interesting.
Because the Penguin already has an upper hand. You say, hey, Falcone was proven to be a rat with the government. I'm the one who tried to kill the guy. I was tried to be the hero.
I'm trying to do good for Gotham.
It's right there.
It reminds me a lot of Lex Luthor.
It's wonderful because the groundwork that Matt Reeves laid out for this story, it leaves so many venues open to take it.
Dude, a lot. Part 2 is going to be so good.
The possibilities are endless. This is assuming Warner Brothers doesn't get their greasy, fat fucking fingers on it. Then yes, I'm very much looking forward.
If Matt Reeves is not the director of the second one, I'm not watching it.
I think I would agree with you. It depends who the director is.
But I want to keep the same tone.
Yes.
The same looks, the same, obviously just the characters growing.
Yes.
And, if you give that mean part 2, more action, more everything, I would love it. Funny enough, there's a lot of action in this film.
I was just going to say, I think the equal amount of action is perfect. The amount of action in this movie,
great, dude.
The way it services the story.
It comes at the perfect times.
And it made me think, I was like, this is like the polar opposite of Batman versus Superman. Where there's these just big action sequences. The one that stuck out to me specifically was the Batmobile chase sequence in this movie and the Batmobile chase sequence in BVS.
Oh, yeah.
Because in BVS, it's entirely not in service of the story.
It's kind of random.
Bruce Wayne tags the truck, and
it's
then
cool,
he starts shooting him up, doesn't get it, and then he sneaks in later off screen to steal the item that he needed for the story. And it was so unfocused compared to this.
The chase sequence in this movie is probably the best chase sequence I've ever seen.
And it was great because it doesn't do anything like too extreme.
Yeah, it's simple.
It's so grounded.
He's trying to catch him.
And the use of red, like you said earlier, makes the fire bright. It makes everything look. It makes the not that extraordinary look extraordinary.
I like the Penguin's attitude while driving. So Penguin, dude, get out of the way! Like he's honking to everybody.
One of my favorite parts is when he calls Batman crazy, and then
when
Batman's catching up, he goes and brake checks a semi truck. I was like, who the fuck are you calling crazy? But it was great.
I like seeing Batman little by little getting angry over the car chase until the end he finally pulls.
That was a great way to create escalation during the chase scene. Matt Reeves had a great use of...
It's like he almost caught him, then he slips away, then he catches up, he almost catches
away
again.
Great use of close-ups with the characters.
Their face.
Reaction shots, Great use of reaction shots, and that chase sequence, he uses them perfectly to a T. So, you have that shot you mentioned earlier, it's like behind the rear wheel and it's catching up. You see how fast they're going, and then you get a close with the Penguin. He looks at the mirror and he looks worried. He's like, oh shit, he's coming. And then the Penguin does something retarded, and suddenly now Batman's behind, and then you get a close up of Batman. He looks angry now, and he's fucking zooming
then
up.
You do that shot of him at the engine, behind the engine. They're fucking big eyes. I love the Batmobile. It sounds fast. It sounds mean.
Such a great use of the camera in this movie. It's such a great way to tell the story. If I had to give my final thoughts,
final ratings,
it is everything about the movie is better than The Dark Knight except for the final sequence. That is the only part that's the only part that The Dark Knight stuck the landing on. And that's why, in my opinion, overall I think The Dark Knight is still the better movie, but that's just me.
What's your rating for this one then?
I think my final rating for this movie, I've only seen it the one time, mind you.
Yeah, it's better the second time.
This dude got it to see it twice, and he already has tickets for a third time.
Yep.
I haven't had the time to do that. But as now, it stands at a very, very, very strong 8. If I watch it a second time, I may up it to a 9. But as of right now, I'm comfortable with the strong 8.
For me, I think this movie is a better Batman film. Mm-hmm. I would say The Dark Knight is a better film. Mm-hmm. But for a Batman film, I enjoyed this one more. I thought everything about it was better. Mm. I thought Batman was better. The action sequences was better. I thought the directing was better. You know, Christopher Nolan's still badass, but I just thought like the cinematography was great. The script was great. I'm fine with the third act. For me, it's fine. The Riddler to me matches the Joker. I think it's a little under, but it's good enough. Sure. You know, it's good enough. It's good enough where everything else carries it
yes.
up.
Yes. Everything is so high in terms of like production value, the acting. On a technical level, the movie is a marvel. I mean, it's really great stuff.
For me, I give it a 10 out of 10. I loved it. I saw it twice already. I still think it's a 10 out of 10. I'm going to watch it a third time. I might give it a 12 out of 10. But if I asked someone, you know, what was your favorite Batman movie? And they said The Dark Knight, I'd be like, okay, that's good. If they said The Batman, okay, that's good. Like, I would take both.
It's most definitely, at the very least, the next best one. Yeah. I mean, the other Batman don't even compare.
Yeah, there's the first two. There's these two at the top, and then the third one's down there. You know, like, I would put these two S tier, and the next one's B tier.
Yeah.
In my opinion. So they're like in a league of their own.
Roundabout.
But, yeah, any final thoughts?
Yeah, okay, final thoughts. The Dark Knight, for me, was better overall.
Better film.
And with the Batman, up until the last part, it was better scene to scene, if that makes any sense. It was, I think, for a 3-hour movie, much better paced with...
Did not feel like 3 hours.
Right. It was much better paced and with a kind of extremely engaging story. And that was my favorite part. It's just the way that the story was...
The Riddler.
Everything was so focused on it. All the characters were introduced, have a purpose within the story, which is... I feel like it shouldn't be something that you have to praise in the modern era, but in the world of studio filmmaking, there's always side characters who don't have anything to do
not in this
with
movie.
the main plot. In this movie,
not in this movie. Everyone's supporting.
Everybody has a place, and it is wonderful to watch. It's really such classical filmmaking.
If this movie's a good film, that's just a fact. I feel like
it's a good
it's
movie.
fine to say that
it's a really well made.
It's fine to say that you don't like it, but you can't say it's a bad film.
Right.
It's a good film.
You're right. You can't say it's bad.
Yeah. It's fine if you don't like it, you know. And everyone has their own taste, but don't say it's don't say it's bad.
If you like it or not, it doesn't matter.
It's up to you.
It's a good movie.
It's a good movie. Yeah, regardless of what you think, it's a good movie.
The movie speaks for itself.
Great acting, great directing, great cinematography. Oh, and the score.
Yes.
Did not touch the score. Every character's themes.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Oh, that was great.
Fantastic. Stuff. I love the song. Some people think it's too cheesy. I like it.
One thing I liked about the movie was, almost in every scene, the theme is playing.
Yeah.
Almost in every scene, it's almost as if it's an orchestra you're listening to, and it was great because in the final shot of the movie, it was like the big climax because the trumpets go boom as if to say, okay, show's over. Right? Classical filmmaking like that. I loved it.
That's great.
Strong 8 out of 10. That's my final grade.
10 out of 10. Go watch it. Get it to $1 billion. But
get it to $1 billion.
Yeah. Anyways, thanks for watching.
Yes.
This is OrtizTalks. This is our first video. We're gonna try to do this.
We'll see.
Hopefully every other week. We're gonna pick whatever movies we want as of right now.
Basically.
We'll see. We have a lot. I mean, as you can see, we got a ton of movies. We're avid. We're big film collectors. So that's why I said some of our films will be physical media.
Shout out to Little Caesars.
Yeah, Little Caesars. Got little
Batman
posters.
Calzone
I just picked this up today. The Batman Funko Pop. I have my Batman shirt. You guys didn't get to see it.
Oh yeah, there it is. That looks great.
It looks all the red and black.
Did you see the Little Caesars in the movie?
What?
When there's the shot of the Times Square, there's the big Little Caesars.
There is
poster. It was funny because I noticed it, and I was gonna poke Mary and go, Little Caesars. Mary, Little Caesars.
That's funny. I'll look for it the third time then.
Yeah, it's right there in the shot of the Times Square. It's like a little on the right, but it's there. And I immediately just thought of these.
That's
little
funny.
Thing.
I'll look.
Anyway, thank you all for watching.
All right, thanks for watching.
Tune in for the next one. You guys have a great night.
Have a good one.
Peace.